beginning for this, for anybody who comes in, it's just a test. I just want to basically test the further ends of my system to see if I can upload a video while I live stream. Right now, I am uploading a video. It's going to premiere on November 4th. But what I want to see right now is, first I'm going to go in and change this like I should have done from the last like 3. Edit video. Nobody needs to know when I'm live and at what time. I'll leave the date though. DVD killer review. Maybe some games. I'm gonna leave this blank for now. Alright, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. No, I actually I wanna see it live. I could just click here. Why did I hit full screen? It's gonna crash. Or not take it. It looks like it's coming in fairly good. No, I actually wanna... Yeah. Despite the fact that I'm uploading something, the quality's decent. So I also want to test something. I'll just put just setting up stream. Give me 2 minutes. Because I also want to see if chat actually goes through. So I don't think it does. No, it does. Just setting up stream, give me 2 minutes. I'll be dang. I didn't think this actually would show me chat. I thought it was broken. Isn't that nice? I don't need that. Don't need that. This has to stay up until everything's uploaded. Which by the look of it, the updating or the uploading is slowed down because I'm streaming, which is completely fine. Today, let's start. Today, we are going to be going over a killer live. I did a very small skim through, and by very small I mean I literally did something like this. I said, where's the perk at? Bam. Where's his abilities? Bam. Perks. And then I checked to see if there was a survivor. That's what I mean by a very small skim. So Galanonim has since edited a perk back in September. This was before the beta, I do believe so. Then he added in other perk ideas, September 22nd, which I think the beta ended the 28th, right? Something like that. On the same killer. So, we're going to go through and do a Native American style killer concept. And afterwards, I guess I might play some Rocket League or something like that. I haven't really decided yet. The idea was to play Polybridge, but I'm not spending another 12 hours just to complete one level. For those of you who are curious about my previous Polybridge experiences, even on the easiest maps, there you can draw something similar. For whatever reason, I have no engineering bones in my body. It takes me 12, sometimes 18 hours to complete one bridge. And you can see the entire streams if you look back in my live stream thing. Just search my name and Polybridge. It's a nightmare every time I get on Polybridge. I could probably do a 24-hour Polybridge stream. The funny thing about it is I 100%ed Polybridge 1. Polybridge 2, I basically 100% it. Then they added in more content, and that new content I cannot do. So I do decide to do Polybridge. I might look up some answers on how to do the base of everything, and then try to design something myself on top of that. So I don't want to spend 12 to 18 hours again. Anyway, we have a Native American killer concept. I didn't even know they had a Reddit. Interesting. Let's see. His name, Eagle Eye. His appearance looks something along the lines of that. And his weapon is an iconic tomahawk. Interesting. That's I can't think about it anymore. I just knew what it was and then it just went away. That's from someone. So powers or abilities. First would be his eagle. The eagle can be ordered to guard certain areas. Before we go any farther, when you say ordered to guard certain areas, is this going to be an, well, it's going to probably be defined, but this is what I'm going to be looking for when you say guard certain areas. Is it just going to be a circle that you light up a particular area on the ground, and when a survivor walks into that particular area on the ground, that the eagle, I guess, would be circling or sitting next to? Something happens. Is it going to activate? I mean, is the eagle going to be sitting on a ledge or on the floor somewhere? And if a survivor runs by and activates it like a raven, is something going to happen? So I would hope to see that to be defined. Now, if any survivor will start to cleanse the totem, open a box, or repair a generator in that area, the eagle immediately notifies the killer and attacks the survivor. The attack won't damage him, but it would stick to the survivor for 10 seconds, blocking his ability to cleanse totems, search boxes, and repair generators. I would simplify that and clearly define it, as opposed to putting things. I would just have it block all actions for 10 seconds, like the twins guy does. I don't remember his name because I ain't played against him in a long time. The twins, the little guy that pops out of her. That sounds bad. Who I'm going to refer to as Twin 2. Twin 1's the female, Twin 2's the male that comes out. I thought about just naming him Lucas, but I don't remember his name. Just have it, Eagle guards area. Define how Eagle guards area. If a survivor does any type of action, aka totem cleansing, opening a box or repairing a generator in that area, killer gets notified about it. And then Eagle latches onto Survivor, or grabs Survivor. Eagle does no damage, but prevents them from doing actions for the next 10 seconds. So the Eagle, by now, just in this first little paragraph, is basically like Twin. Shows the survivor's location and stops them from doing a lot of actions. Second ability would be placing special totems with special hexes. You are going to cause issues with having the ability to put hex totems down on your own. Because by design, there's already hex totems implemented into the game. Now, this is before I read anything, so I mean, it could be something unique as opposed to this, but I want to know, like, survivors have the ability to bless totems now. Why not just give this particular killer the ability to apply a specific hex to whatever totem, to different totems, and make them do different things? You can even make it scale by the more hexes applied to the more dull totems, more effects happen. That said, this is very old, September 8th. It was before the beta and boon totems and all of that came out, I'm pretty sure. So, I understand what he's saying. Totems, looks like Native American totems. Each time the killer hooks a survivor, he gets one stackable totem that can be placed anywhere on the ground. That needs to be fine to have a maximum number of like 3 or 5 totems. Add-ons, you know, could add totems or remove totems. But yeah, that needs to be a defined number. If not, you can technically have 3, 6, 9. You can have 9. It's 3 survivors out. Yeah, you can have a total of 9 totems at one time going. If you go by that, and that's kind of ridiculous. When there's only like, what, 5 totems in the game? Well, there used to be back then 5 hex totems in the game. So I would limit it. Let's see what these totems do. Each time the killer with hook only gets 1 stackable totem, they can be placed anywhere on the ground. What's the radius is what I'm looking for. How much time they take to place, what's their radius, and then their functionality is what I'm looking for. Next, the totem increases the killer movement speed, vaulting speed, as well as the speed of destroying pallets, doors, and kicking the generators. So now, well, 1, all of those values need to be defined, and 2, that is literally 2 different perks slammed together. One's brutal strength, and the other one's any type of speed totem, any type of speed perk stacked alone. These totems can be cleared by survivors at normal speed. Why at normal speed? Because it takes like, what, 8-10 seconds to cleanse a totem? This is a power relative to your killer, so they're not actual hex totems. They're also not as strong as hex totems because you're only getting movement speed basically on everything. So they should be able to be cleared quicker than an actual hex totem. Because in essence, every totem that you place or every hook that you place, if a survivor is to clear the totem, that's 10 seconds off of a generator. So basically, that's the equivalence of not 25%, 12.5% of a generator. It's worth of time that they're losing per totem that you place down if they elect to clear them. After clearing the totem, survivors get a marked status effect. Is marked status effect a new status effect you're trying to implement, or you're trying to say exposed or something like that, or just a marked as in a specific status effect, like any status effect? Let's see. During that time, survivor who cleansed the special totem will lose the ability to clear other special totems for 1 minute. Also, see, you can't keep throwing in and also when it comes to defining an ability. If you have to say also, like, hang on. Also, after clearing the special totem, his aura will be revealed for the killer for 5 seconds. So, if you find yourself designing something and you put the base what it does and you have to put and also and as well, and you start stacking more and more and more effects on something to make it seem better, the entire perk power is probably wrong by base. So you got to be careful about stacking and stacking and stacking and stacking and adding more and more things to your particular definition. Because now you have killer can place hex totems. They take 10 seconds, or they speed up the killer and all of his actions, basically. Takes 10 seconds to break totem. However, if survivor breaks totem, they get a smart status effect. They also get they also cannot clear another special totem for 1 minute. They also have their aura revealed for the killer for 5 seconds. I would simplify not only the sentences, but the actual perk itself. I'd also make it to where you can just like dull totems. But I mean, there are other perks that have been implemented that give you the speed and the ability to do actions and things faster by base. So I mean, it's combining them, but it's combining them in kind of a redundant way. It's just like, if you want speed in DBD, it has to consume some sort of slot, and generally speed is by itself. Especially when you talk about movement speed. Movement speed's always been in its own particular category away from anything else, and then action speed is in its own category somewhere else, because they want a good balance on it. Combining them both together, which a lot of reviews that I do always wants to incorporate movement speed and action speed together, as well as repair speed and all that. They always want to put all of that together as one, because it makes sense for the player base to make the killer faster at everything he does. But balance wise, it doesn't make sense. If the killer's moving faster by base, he's going to get to the pallets faster. He's going to catch the survivors faster. Why does he need to break pallets and do everything else faster as well? You're just adding on to the amount of time, or decreasing the amount of time survivors have to escape, and essentially ending chases before they can even begin. And that's why they, by base, try to separate movement speed and action speed. And if they do incorporate it into one thing, it's like 4%, 2%, 4%, something, It's good and it's noticeable, but it's not like super overpowered unless it's just movement speed by itself with a little bit of a kicker to it. So the main problem you're going to have with this is the fact that you're trying to incorporate movement speed as well as every other type of speed all into one thing, which has a stackable buff the amount of totems that you put down. Everything that's placeable by base in Dead by Daylight has a collision effect of some sort, whether it's, an activatable trigger once you step into it or something like that. Placing totems down, you're going to have to give them some sort of physical form in order for survivors and everything to track on them, which can be exploited unless they go through and program and design specific places where you can put these things that don't interfere with the general focus of the game. Because if you put one right in a doorway, the survivor no longer can go through that doorway. If you make it to where the survivor can go through it, you're going to cause a lot of programming problems. Because it's not a physical object that the survivor can come to and interact with. It's something that just doesn't exist. It's going to be a lot of problems. Now, you could give him multiple eagles, maybe like 3 eagles that he can put over general areas, and they just kind of, circle, and everywhere that they circle, give the killer an effect. So Eagle 1 will give killer more movement speed. Eagle 2 will give killer pallet and wall destroying speed. Eagle 3 will give, vaulting speed or something like that in that particular area. Maybe break it into 3 different eagles, 3 different things, and try to incorporate it like that. So you're not getting every effect at once and basically nullifying other perks and making them useless. There's a lot of other things you can do. After clearing special totem, aura will be revealed for 5 seconds. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I think there should be just a regular notification, not like the hex totem notification where you get the pow and then all of that other thing. I think you should just get a, like, somebody disarmed your trapper notification, that pow sound, and then that should be your notification. Maybe even a very quick visual trigger, pow, boof, and then it's gone. It doesn't need any type of aura reveal or anything like that on top of everything. Other than that, so it's fine. I mean, the eagle being able to guard areas, it's going to have to be further defined. Is the eagle going to be sitting there? Is it going to be, controllable? Is it just going to be automotive? Like, it's going to have to be... Well, if it's not controllable, or not activatable or movable on its own, like Killer 2 from the twins, then it's going to have its own sort of mini AI. And you've seen from zombies that the mini AI is not that particularly great. Because that's probably what they're going to incorporate into it, is like a zombie style AI, or they're going to make it just immobile, and whenever something goes by, it's going to activate like the birds on the map already. Let's see. Perks. Revenge is the Vulture. If a survivor will pallet stun you, Revenge of the Vulture will activate. During Revenge, the survivor can't drop another pallet for 40 seconds. That is way, way too OP. Way too OP. So what you're saying is, I can forcefully stand there and just take a pallet stun to my face, not to mention with all of this extra speeds and everything from the totems and everything else you're trying to incorporate, the survivor has now lost one of its primary means of escape for basically the rest of the chase. That is insane. But is way too overpowered. I could see them not being able to drop a pallet for I'm trying to give it an uphand, but even like me saying 10 seconds is kind of a eh. Eh. Because I mean, even, oh boy. What's the perk's name when you hit somebody? The entity. Basic attack. Entity blocks. Pallets. Oh, they're in order. I'll find it. I want to give you... Dang, I wish I knew the name of it. Blood Favor. Damaging a survivor with either your basic attack or special attack prompts the enemy to hold all pallets within a radius of 32 meters for the next 15 seconds. Blood Favor, which is a hex, by the way, and has an active effect of happening to be a basic attack, is only 15 seconds worth of 15 seconds worth of time in a small radius. If you get hit, which it takes a while for this to activate too, so if you hit a survivor that's running towards a pallet, please stop, they can still drop that pallet before the entity does anything and grabs them. So they're probably still going to get that nearest pallet unless they're ways away. But if it's a trade and you're slapping them and then... What is wrong with you? I can scroll. So if they're a ways away, then it'll stop them from using it if they're in like transit from loop to loop. But if they're near a pallet and you slap them, they can drop that pallet and then all the other pallets around them will be stopped. And that's only 32 meters and for 15 seconds. Your perk, Revenge of the Vulture, all you have to do is be pallet stunned and then they just can't interact with any other pallets for 40 seconds. There isn't any type of range, any type of caveat, and it's not able to be deactivated, which makes it completely unbalanced, and it also nullifies the effects of using Blood Favor. Why use Blood Favor when you have this clearly superior perk that'll basically in the chase for you. You take a pallet to the face, and now you have a survivor that can only use windows. And trying to escape a killer only using windows, which are limited use, it's extremely hard to do. Because at the end of it, once you used up your windows, you generally either drop the pallet or take the hit, or if you're lucky, be able to run to another loop in time. You sometimes need that extra distance. And then all it takes is a pallet stun. You can run, I don't remember the name of the other perk, but it reduces pallet stuns by half, which I think I found out in another one was like 2.5 or 1.6 or something like that. I don't know. In one of the previous ones, I went over pallet stun times and things like that. And it's very, very, very short. It was during I think the Xenomorph is where I went over that. But by base, this pallet or this power perk is way too powerful, and it also nullifies a lot of perks. Any perks that are based around pallets, it completely gets rid of. Relic from the past. Each successful hit to a survivor generates 1 token. If 3 tokens are generated, each hit will apply broken status effect for 70 seconds. Every miss drops tokens to 0. There's something similar to that. However, it just says each successful hit to a survivor generates 1 token. Define that. Is that mouse 1? Is that a hit and a lunge or anything like that? Also, the broken status effect is essentially 2 health states. Essentially. So if you walk up to a survivor, especially if you're using anything that hides your tear radius, like Pyramid's head, once he kicks a generator, his tear radius goes away. Something like that. Once you get your thing stacked, you can just walk to somebody working on a generator, go around the corner, and immediately apply the broken status effect to them. Which means regardless of what they do, they cannot heal for the next 70 seconds. Chain off enough, aka using Legion or something like that, you can have the entire lobby broken. Even faster than the Plague does it. That's even more terrifying. Imagine this perk on the Plague, where you can either throw up on people to give them the broken status effect, or you can just walk up and slap them to start the broken status effect, and then when the sickness kicks in, boom. That is actually crazily absurd. So like I said, all of this came out before PTB, so some of it's excusable, but one of the main things you gotta think about when you're designing perks is you need to apply these perks to the meta killers or other killers to see if they're gonna become way too OP using this particular perk. So if you have a sprinter type killer, on each hit provides the status or broken status effect, it gets ridiculous. Especially on Wraith. Oh my. Territorial protection. After kicking the generator, survivor auras are revealed to you for 4 seconds when they are within range of 22 meters of the kick generator. It's clearly here, so I'm thinking about adding short time duration and additional movement speed. Why do you need additional movement speed? And why do you need 4 additional seconds, like 4 seconds of that? The idea, at least the idea that I see of this perk, is that you're kicking the generator, which takes a little bit of time, and then it's allowing you to see which direction the survivor scurried off to. If that's the case, you don't need an entire 4 seconds to know each and every move and where they're going on top of that. I'd say after you get done with the gen kick animation, you only need like 2 seconds. Because one, 4 seconds gives you ability to look completely around you and see where every single survivor that was near this generator, which 22 meters of that, which is pretty significant. Because any survivor that's at that generator that you walk to and kick isn't going to get anywhere near 22 meters before you get done with your kick animation. They're only going to get a couple of feet. So, I mean, you're not, well, it's going to be more than a couple of feet, but you know what I'm talking about. They're going to get about, at tops, 10 meters away. So you don't need a full 4 seconds of that, because there's scratch marks, and if they're injured, blood marks and things like that are ready to track them. You just need to know which direction that one of them's gone in. You don't even need to know all of them. It is weaker than barbecue and chili, but barbecue and chili you have to have a complete hook, and nobody has to be hiding in lockers and things like that. Your perk, unless they're already hiding in a locker before you come, completely gets rid of that. So I mean, it's gonna have to be balanced a little bit more. I can see what you were going for, but it's kind of overzealous for the situation. You walk up, you kick the generator, and then everybody that was at this generator is going to be able to be seen for 4 seconds. So if any survivor elects to, stick around, you instantly know where they're at, and that's basically a free hit or a free down. If they're running away, trying to go to another generator, another path, or anything like that, or trying to get, distance between, you're going to know exactly everything they do for the next 4 seconds. This is like a barbecue and chili wet dream, and it's not very savvy for the game itself. Especially when you have it stacked with this terrifying effect that applies the broken status effect. As soon as you prime that, all you have to do is go around kicking generators, and then using that 4 seconds to catch up to another survivor. In 4 seconds time, survivors can go 16 meters. In 4 seconds time, a killer can go 18 or so meters, something like that. Well, it's 4.6, not 4.5 for one. But let's just go off 4.5. That would be an extra 2. So yeah, 18 and some change meters. More. So you're essentially getting the 2 point whatever meters head start on them in that same time frame. If that makes sense. If it don't, just think of it as the 16 meters the survivor can travel in that particular time. Mark out the 4.6 I think a killer can go, get rid of the 4, and then just do the math for the 0.6. Its exact number is what? 6, 12, 18, 24? 2.4 meters? Which comes out to the difference. So by the time you kick the generator, And everything said and done, you'll have 2.4 meters of extra move time than the survivor has had. Um, that's the lower. So, entity, bless you all. I like the overall idea. We'll look at comments in a second. I like the overall idea of this killer having the eagle, possibly reconfiguring in the totem aspect, maybe even possibly changing it to something else, or using the existing hex totems. But it can be worked in. It can be worked in pretty efficiently. This is a nice base template. I like it. I'd love to see, a Native American killer. I don't know if I'd call him an alternative killer though. I don't know who he would take advantage of. Because unless it's, controllable, it wouldn't be like the twins, because it's technically two entities. It wouldn't be the Huntress, because it's completely separate. So I don't know who I would say you'd be an alternative killer for, so I'm not even going to throw that out at the moment. I would love for it to be rewritten to be like a twin style alternative killer. I think it would be interesting. But that'd be undermining the original idea. Said he likes the idea. It's definitely different. What exactly is different? The ability to use birds, the hex totems. Like, what are you valuing here? What's different? I'm not for placing a totem just anywhere. That's a bit much. I can agree with that. Pre-assigned places, not one of them in the great wide open for the survivors to see. However, I suggest for it to take 8 seconds to clean rather than the usual 12. It is a bonus totem after all. So they're basically saying the same thing. Placing totems anywhere can cause problems. Also, they're not defined as to what their radius is and all that. So if it's a full map radius, all you do is just hide your totems in the corners of maps and get that bonus. But he basically said the same thing that I said. And then the totems, since they're extras, they shouldn't take... Apparently it takes 12 seconds to cleanse a totem, not 10. So the more you know. I've never looked it up, so I just assumed it was a nice round number of 10. But there you go. 12 seconds. The Vulture is pretty neat. Definitely. It also doesn't define a cooldown, but... Would it need a cooldown? Because all it is just sitting there. And I assume that it's going to work like the twins. Like, that's what I went off the basis of. So I guess I should have asked to define a cooldown and how the Vulture actually works. It needs to be more detail on that. That's something that I missed. I just assumed that, it's going to have the twins effect. You get near it, it attacks you whenever you trigger it. You get it off of you, and then the Vulture teleports all the way back to the Native American, because I don't remember the killer's name. And things continue on. Territorial protection needs more than 4 seconds, without a doubt. It takes about that time just to leave the tile. That's the kick the generator and know the locations of all the people around. He basically said the same thing I said, he just made it simpler. So what he's saying is, and he's assuming, like I assumed last, is that the timer starts as you're kicking the generator. So by base, you're losing however much time it takes to kick the generator. It's time to actually go out and find a survivor. I already rewrote in my mind and overcompensated for it for saying that the timer starts after the generator's hook. So you have 4 seconds of free movement, not the loss of seconds before that. But as I said, if the survivor leaves as you're kicking the generator, or as you're coming up on it, it's going to be about the same. And that standard amount of time, it's going to be, you're going to get 2 point whatever I said, 2.4 meters of space back on the survivor if they took off running. Now, if you include the probably 2.4 to 3 meters that the survivor is going to get if they leave the generator early, which I mean if they do run away from the generator early, there's no point in kicking the generator because you're going to see them running. So this perk really only has benefit if the survivor stays until you show up at the generator, and as you're kicking it, run off, or they run off as you're coming around the corner. It's going to be about the same. So you're going to have the same everything as if you just kicked it, went out, ran, and started chasing him and all of that, but you're going to have increased vision, is what you're gaining from that. But starting the timer after you kick the generator kind of half cuts that off. It cuts off the slack. Because the same with barbecue and chili. Nobody said that, nobody really says that, oh, barbecue and chili needs to be extended more. Because no, barbecue and chili is good. After you hook a survivor, for 4 seconds, survivors in the distance are being tagged. So what this perk is trying to portray is that after you kick the generator, the survivors that are around the generator at the time are going to be shown for 4 seconds. This perk is not made, well, in my opinion, this perk should not be made into a perk that lets you know every action that a survivor does after you kick the generator. It should just give you the general direction of where they're going in. If you extended it to like 8 seconds, now instead of having that neutral environment where you kick the generator and you know where the survivor is going direction wise, now you have the ability to kick the generator and then pursue the survivor and whatever the shortest means are possible. And God help the survivor that thought it was nice to, hide around the corner behind a rock or something like that. Because now they're going to be stuck. You're going to have enough time to kick that generator, go behind them, slap them, and still probably have a couple of seconds to see where they went afterwards. There's other pursue perks. There's other perks that can be activated and things like that. I definitely would not go any higher than 4 seconds. And as that, I'd make the effect activate as soon as you kick the generator. As soon as you end that animation, I would give you 4 seconds of free movement control that allows you to either pursue a survivor that ran out, scratch marks, things like that, or look around you to make sure there's no survivors still at this generator. That's about all the time you need to know if you need to make a move or if you need to secure the generator, especially if it's like a 3 gen situation. The only thing you need to know is all the survivors going to another gen, or are they going to stay around this particular area and keep trying to pressure it. That's all the information you need. You don't need to be able to catch and down a survivor with every perk. Chase musing would be amazing. Could be. Oh boy. Yeah, I agree. Too much freedom in placing totems would be too broken, as I went over earlier. So pre-assigned places, pre-assigned, assigned places sound cool to balance that. Yes, but also no. If it's a assigned place, you know how much coding that's gonna be. You'd be better off just disallowing areas where the totems can't be placed. Which is said in that case, you might as well just allow dull totems to become hex totems by being able to be lit. I don't know. Um, there should be plenty of spaces for totems to not be easy to find. This is correct. However, it's all going to have to be tested and it's all going to have to be barriered and things like that, so the totems themselves can't be put in the glitch places where they can't be accessed, or survivors can't be locked in behind totems because they ran into some area and the killer drops a totem and then leaves because they know it's going to take them 10 seconds to get out of that, you know? Um, Also worried about what the early game would look like, since without his totem buffs, he would have to rely on the eagle. Maybe eagle should slow down survivors. What do you think? Eagle could slow down survivors. Like I said, it should be like the twins effect. When the other twin jumps on and grabs you and prevents you from doing things. That's about, what I assume that's going to come from that. Because one, it's easy to code because they already have the base code. They just need to change the animations. Simplistic. Um, I forgot about CD. 120 seconds sounds reasonable since this ability would be pretty strong. What is CD? Oh, the cooldown. Oh, this is the op posting. 120 seconds. So, yeah. Changing this back to the op talking, I thought this was another commenter. The freedom of approach would be broken, which he recognizes. Pre-assigned places could balance that, but there should be plenty of places for totems to not be easy to find. Yes. As I went over before, it also worried about how his early game would look. He's going to have an extremely weak early game. As much as I'd hate to say it, he is reliant upon his tracking ability, which, I mean, if you're a hunter, and back in those days, that's how it was. He's going to be solely reliant on tracking abilities to get his prey. um, I'd definitely make the eagle slow down survivors like, as I said, the other twin does, I'm pretty sure. And most people who play him as a killer are going to rely solely on the eagle. It's cool having the eagle come by that can swoop down and alert you to survivors in particular areas. Especially, again, a 3 gen thing. You leave the eagle on 1 gen, you go to another gen, you kick it. That looks like it's been worked on. If anybody's in the area, you now have a target you can go after. If anybody goes to a gen after or the other one that the eagle's on, you now have a target. Um, Cooldown of 120 seconds. I'm lost somewhere. Oh, the cooldown on the Vulture? Yeah. The Vulture doesn't even need a 2 minute cooldown because the Vulture is actually not super OP. It's really not. Plus, if you send it to behavior, they're gonna find a way to scare away your Vulture or eagle, scare away your eagle, or they basically undermine him anyway. Like a survivor crouching in an area, going to work on a generator probably won't be messed with, as opposed to a survivor just sprinting through will probably be messed with. So the concept will probably be changed a little bit to be like, I don't want to say a hag trap, but something similar to that, to where if a survivor runs in the area of the eagles doing anything, they get instantly snapped up. If they're crouching, they don't get snapped up. That allows survivor who are watchful to not get punished and basically be like, well, I can't work on this generator now. Because even trapper wise, if a trapper traps up a generator, you can either go around the traps, or if they're in very good traps, you can just deactivate the trap and then continue to work on it. So there's gonna have to be some sort of weakness in the eagle vulture. I don't know, it's all changed. I think the guy's name is Eagle and he uses a vulture. And I think about it. Yeah, his name is Eagle Eye. That's where I keep getting Eagle from. And he uses... Oh, he uses an eagle. I'm not crazy. His name is Eagle Eye and he uses an eagle. It's not a goddamn vulture. Even though I think in the picture above it is a vulture. But we don't talk about that. But, he was thinking about a short range barbecue and chili against survivors who hid somewhere near their gym location. But yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, it's pretty weak even with a short movement speed bonus. You were on a better track with it, should have been just longer with longer effects. Something wouldn't be necessary. See, I'm actually kind of on the opposite about that. Having a short range barbecue and chili, I think, shouldn't allow you to just immediately catch up to a survivor that's nearby. Because, I mean, barbecue and chili was made long range for the purpose. It was balanced at long range for a purpose. You know? If they wanted to, they could have just made all survivors get their locations revealed for 4 seconds after something happens. In this case, it'd be a hook. And then, wherever you are, you're just kind of screwed when it happens. So, I mean, I can't agree with it being a short range barbecue and chili for 4 seconds when you have legions and wraiths and a whole bunch of other killers that, you know, with this perk already stacked on, are going to have a significant advantage. As I said, on this killer, it might be nice and balanced, but when you think about the faster killers, you know, on a nurse or something like that, nurse comes over, bang boom, next thing you know, she can teleport exactly to where the other survivor is. She has 4 seconds to teleport and get to that survivor and take them down. Like, you understand how filthy, how nasty that is? Just balance per character. You have to balance per game. And they want an extended time on that. And can you imagine? Because I think a nurse can go well over 23 meters with her teleportation and add-ons and all of that other things. They can go a long way. So you're looking at an extension plus movement speed for a nurse who can just kick the generator and then immediately teleport to whatever survivors nearby and immediately get another hit. That's disgusting. Or a legion that can just kick and then immediately feral rush down whatever pops up. Get that first feral rush, then after that they can see with the killer instinct where everybody else's positions are and continue the feral rush. I don't know. There's just something to think about. Things that might not seem that powerful per killer is super powerful for another killer. The killer, all in all, it has a decent concept. It's going to need some sort of pizzazz. There's another reason why I'm not going to call it an alternative killer for anything. Like I said, it can be rewrote to be like the twins or a huntress or something else, or even a trapper or something of that nature, but it's gonna have to be redone and rewrote and a little bit configured and things like that to be an alternative killer to fit the bill. To be a standalone killer, unfortunately, this killer actually is, I mean, we're gonna go over more perks after this, but as of now has very good perks, but the killer itself was weak by base. If I was to use no perks on this particular killer, and I was to just take them out baby, which I mean the first time you play a killer you only get one perk anyway, so, and you go out as a baby killer, what kind of damage are you going to get done using the abilities and things like that? What's the caveat? Where's the power? Where's the oomph? What's the thing that makes him a deadly killer? And it's almost there, but it's not completely there. But this is just, this is just a start. If people pay more attention to it and give them more feedback and things like that, this can be buffed up to be absolutely, positively amazing. But it just needs, another draft. Go through, change things, send it back out, see how things work, Unfortunately, there's no way to put it on the workshop or add it into the game to test it. So, I mean, all you can really do is just shoot concepts and talk about them and discuss them. One day, Dead by Daylight may have, let you go on. Well, I mean, I guess you can get an SFM creator and create your own character and program and things like that, but you have to have the knowledge for that. Or you'll have to know somebody who you can send these concepts to that can actually get things done for you. Or take class. Well, I like the killer. Some things need to be changed. I think it's missing something too. So, I mean, you could probably incorporate, like, go look at, like, the Indians' heritage and see if you can incorporate more things. Besides a tomahawk, maybe incorporate, a bow or bolus or something else along with the eagle. Write something about it. Maybe if it's good, add it in. If it's not, at least that's one path that you've already pursued. Look at the other perks that are in the game look at how they're balanced against themselves and each other and things like that, and kind of get an idea on how they, start balancing, start running their perks and things like that. I'm not saying take two perks and slam them both together. And if I have said that in the past, I was wrong. I don't think I have. Like, don't just take two perks, slam them together, and then change some things. That'll never work. So the only thing you're doing is either making the perk itself that you're making weaker and overshadowed by its father or mother perks, or you're lowering the value of the other two perks that you're taking them from. So another good balance of the perk is that you have, or the game, is that you have 4 perk slots. That is 4 different effects you can apply to your killer. And if you have multiple perks getting combined together, you're technically going to have like 6 or 7 different perks when you should only have 4 different advantages, if that makes any kind of sense. But this is the past. Now we're going to spiral a little ahead to the future. From September 8th all the way to September 22nd. Galanin updated, said some time ago, I've made an idea for a Native American killer. Now I'd like to share some perk ideas for a survivor who would also be Native American. Before we go into that, let me just undermine you for a second. What if it was a Native American killer and then a colonist survivor? Because, I mean, trails of tears and all of that other things happen, and the land was taken from them and things like that. What if it was that kind of a situation, where, it goes off history? That'd be wild. Anyway. One with nature. When crouching near the crow, you have the ability to mark it. Marked crows are highlighted and can be seen anywhere on the map. When the killer scares away the crows, their location is revealed for 5 seconds. Only one crow can be highlighted at the time, marking the crow as a 108 cooldown, second cooldown for the ability. So this is a Spies in the Shadow type trigger, except made better for a survivor and buffed a little bit. If you're going to make it reveal for 5 seconds, I would make it the same as Spies in the Shadow distance-wise. Spies from the Shadows, I think is what it's called. Oh, you actually did crash. Are you kidding me? Oh, well, you're done anyway. DVD perks spies. Oh, I also went over a perk idea. Another perk idea put in by Gala Newman. That's going to be premiering tomorrow because, well, I'm lazy and I don't want to have to get up and make another video tomorrow. So, yeah, that premiere was taken before this live stream, but it's going to be played after, the day after, or tomorrow. So I ain't got to worry about it. If I don't feel like posting that day, I ain't got to. Spies from the shadow. Any crow startled by survivors within 36 meters will alert you with a loud noise notification. It has a cooldown of 5 seconds between alerts. So keywords there, 36 meters, loud noise notification, 5 seconds. Keywords from this is anywhere on the map, 5 seconds. Oh, no. It's just 5 seconds and then the 180-second cooldown. So, I don't know how to go to explaining this. I think I'll actually start from the bottom this time and work my way up instead of from the top to bottom. Marking the crow inflicts a 180-second cooldown for this ability. There is a problem and a benefit wrapped into two things. One, having a cooldown on the marking ability allows you every 3 minutes, which is kind of crazy, to mark a new crow and update, the location and everything, which is fine. But on the same note, after marking where a crow is, if a killer triggers that crow, you can then mark another crow in another area and immediately get a second trigger. So you can essentially double stack that if you're nearby, because I don't know how close you have to be to the crow to mark it. It just says crouching near a crow, so I don't know. There's no ability or no definition of how close you have to be, because even if crouched, if you get close to a crow, they still fly away, to my knowledge. So it's going to have to be somewhat far. So I define the distance, but we're working from bottom up. If you're near a crow and a killer is near you and they activate the crow and get marked for 5 seconds, you can then mark immediately after and get another notification. So if you're working on a generator, here's the situation. You mark a crow that's near a generator. Some crows land on top of the generators and they disappear when you go down to start working on them and doing things like that. Some are, randomly strewn about. Some are on the edge of the map, things like that. If you're working on a generator that has a crow nearby, especially if it's in the swamp or something like that, you can activate that crow with that notification. Killer comes nearby, you can leave. And as the killer comes by and does all of its checking and all that and interrupts that crow, you can see which direction the killer's chasing and all of that other things for 5 seconds. The killer then walks away and then the crows come back. You can then activate another notification there and continue to work on the generator right after they leave. Or if the killer comes nearby and you go to the edge of the map, the killer activates the crow near the generator. You immediately activate a crow on one side of the area where you're sitting at hiding, and you go to the other side just in case the killer does elect to check back there. You now have 2 activations of the same perk. So the cooldown in this aspect should be lessened, and the cooldown should only be active after the notification is primed, after the crow's activated. You should also define both actions. You should define the I'm losing my train of thought. People are talking in the background. Try this again. Deep breath. You should name the cooldown on the usability of the ability. So once you use it, you can't use it again for X amount of time. You should also name a cooldown for after the ability activates. So you can't just use it immediately again afterwards. Both of those should be defined. Um, Location revealed for 5 seconds. That's completely fine. So, I mean, honestly, as long as, you're not being chased by the killer or something like that, it's really negligible. It really gets its marks when killer is nearby you. Um, Highlighted crow can be seen anywhere on the map. That's completely fine. The only way to get near crows is crouching near it, so maybe add in as a passive that crows don't fly away when you get close to them. Like, whatever the other perk is, friends with nature, something with nature. Did I think this is like Jake Park has or something? Oh my god, I don't think I've ever ran that perk but like once my entire career. That makes crows not get startled by you. Well, I mean, there's still a percentage, but I would just make it a 100% to where crows aren't bothered by you as a passive, as part of one with nature. Because you're one with nature, why would crows be scared of you? Why would you have to crouch down near a crow if you're one with nature? You know what I'm saying? So I'd buff it and make crows not run away from you so you don't have to crouch near them and do all this other things to mark it and do everything else. The location and being revealed and all that 5 seconds is just fine. I don't see a problem with it. And I really don't want to think critically over 5 seconds. Especially off of a crow activation. So I'm just going to say, yo, let's go. And then define the cooldowns. Momentary relief. If you unhook the survivor, you give them, when you unhook the survivor, they gain an additional 25% speed boost. That lasts 5 seconds. After activating it, it can't be used again for 30 seconds. 25%? Really? Really? 25%? My god. So let's break that down. Survivor's default running speed is 4 meters per second. Killer's is 4.4 to 4.6. Depending on if they're a shooting killer, things like that. Wraith has increased speed, etc., etc. So most killers will have a 4.6 movement speed. So you are essentially going from you unhooking them and they being faster than the killer for 5 whole seconds. That is crazy. It's a very good anti-tunneler perk. Like at the end, if the killer's been tunneling a survivor, it's at the end, you could literally give them that perk in borrowed time. And the running bonus plus getting slapped, that burst of speed that you can get from that, if the killer baits the borrowed time hit. If they don't, they're gone anyway. The amount of speed you're getting from that, there's no way that killer's gonna be able to redown them unless they have a ranged attack. That is way, way, way too OP. And also, it has the primary problem with when you unhook a survivor under a hook, 9 times out of 10, you want to go for an immediate heal. You don't want to dilly dally. So the only time this perk really has any type of effect and use is at the end game. If a survivor gets hooked, you can walk up, unhook them, and they can get out the exit door without any trouble. Little to no trouble. That is where that perk picks up its light. If you unhook a survivor mid-match and they're running from you, that's bad. You don't want them to run from you. It gets annoying unhooking somebody and then they running and wasting your time running over into a corner because they're afraid of getting healed off hook. You don't want that. You also, if the survivor is dumb enough to walk up and trade for you, survivors should not be rewarded for poor play. If there's a trade situation, one survivor goes down and you get off the hook and you have this amazing speed boost, you shouldn't be rewarded for that survivor making a dumb play, but you also shouldn't be punished. So I do agree giving you a speed boost off of that hook should give you something, but I don't agree that it should last for 5 seconds and you should be faster than the killer for those 5 seconds. That is insane and absurd. It just needs to be balanced a little bit better. Because we've all had those times where somebody's coming to unhook you, the killer's behind them, and they elect to unhook you but take that down anyway. And you're just like, bro, why are you trading? You should have just went on with your business. Somebody else would have came and got me. Now, one of us is going to immediately go down. If they have borrowed time, okay. You take the hit after getting unhooked, and then you both continue on your merry way because you have that speed boost already from that borrowed time hit. Everything's hunky-dory. They got distance, you took the hit, you got a little bit of distance. But enabling survivors to get successful trades out is not, it's not good and savvy for the game. Because you're going to have people just, I can feel the rage building up. Me unhooking somebody and they just running off into the distance instead of staying to get the heal. So I come back to my primary argument that the only time that perk actually has any type of use is during the in-game collapse when you're trying to save them and escape. That is the only time that that perk should have any type of use. Because if you're trading or doing something else dumb, then it's just creating a bigger issue. I don't see anybody running borrowed time and this perk together because that's 2 perks gone from you. I also don't like the fact that changing this to where if you get unhooked you get a speed boost, because that's just going to add fuel to the fire of survivors running off early. But I mean, if you have a long string of losses because of trades and things like that, maybe you do want to be able to run away as soon as you get off the hook. Or if you have other healing, means of healing, and you don't need that, maybe you do want a perk like this. It's a double-sided knife no matter how it goes. It's going to be used very good, and it's going to be used very bad. So is that balanced? If it helps more people than it kills, if it kills more people than it hurts, is it balanced? I don't agree with them being faster than the killer for the 5 seconds though. That's the most important thing. Giving them a slight speed boost, okay. But for 5 seconds of that, no. And then only having a 30-second cooldown on top of that. I don't know about that. Ultimate survival. There is a lot of noise. Oh my lord. I think I'm gonna finish this off and I'm gonna take another break. Because this is, Jesus Christ. Ultimate Survivor. If you are hit by an attack, that can be instant. If you can be hit by. Okay, what? If you were hit by an attack that can instantaneously down you and you are under a healthy state, Ultimate Survival activates. So if you're exposed, or if you get hit by any attack that, okay, gotcha. You'll be put into a deep wound state. After it activates, you're broken for 120 seconds. That is ludicrous. And you suffer repairing, sabotaging, cleansing, affected by a mangled, hemorrhage, oblivious status effect, and can only be used once per trial. They have perks for this that are actually multiple activations. They already have perks for that. They are survivor perks. One of them is called, I mean, they have activations on what they can do, so it's not a one-time save type thing, but that particular perk leaves you so mangled that it's not worth taking it. Go back. Actually, just click on perks. Is it you that's freezing me? Well, what's good, Tony? What's good? Oh boy. Let me get on back to my park screen. So I know they have like Soul Guard and things like that. I think Soul Guard activates after you get up though. Bum 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 bum. So if you were hit by an attack, it would put you into the dying state. You are put into the deep wound state, which gives you the bleed out timer. That needs to be defined how long that timer is, by the way. Then you are afflicted with the broken status effect for 120 seconds on top of having to mend from the deep wound status effect. The reason why this is ludicrous is that the deep wound status effect is basically just like, it's a mobile borrowed time. There are a lot of perks for like a mobile borrowed time. They have activations that are associated with them to keep you standing instead of letting you just fall straight over and go down. This gets rid of the activations by trying to balancing it on the opposite side by breaking you for 2 minutes and giving you a whole bunch of negative debuffs and all this, but you've doubled down and making the debuffs so disgusting that nobody's ever going to run this perk. This is the type of thing where you would like to add, and I'm like, no, neither. You know, he's just this mangled, hemorrhaged, oblivious, can't really repair that well because you're just at the edge of your lifestyle of just almost dead type of thing. Like, except no, neither you can get back up. I know Soul Guard is one that's on pickup. That is built the last. Thank you. Any damage taken that would put you into the dying state will instead trigger the deep wound status effect. After which, you have 20 seconds to mend yourself. Taking any damage while under that will put you into the dying state. Soul Guard allows you to completely recover from the dying state when you're affected by the curse status effect. Soul Guard has a cooldown of 30 seconds. And you also get the endurance status effect after you get healed. Like, Soul Guard activates, which I kind of whispered but didn't say out loud, is after you recover from the dying state, Soul Guard becomes activated. As soon as you do that, you get 8 seconds of endurance. And if you get hit while in that, you'll get 20 seconds to mend yourself and things like that. I was aware that Soul Guard only is recovered from the dying state, but what I wanted to show at this particular point is that how this perk is worded and things like that, if you just go to the wiki and pull off a line or a couple of lines of something like this to further define that perk and make it more clear to explain itself. So as you can see, Soul Guard grants you the endurance status effect for the next 8 seconds. Any damage taken will put you into the dying state will instead trigger the deep wound status effect, which you have 20 seconds to mend yourself. It defines it all. Taking any damage under the deep wound effect puts you into a dying state, etc., etc., etc. It also gives you the cooldown and all of that in one just brief summary of the paragraphs. So when I say further define, this is just an example of when I say, please further define this, and people are like, huh? How can you further define it? Well, read this as it goes. Pause if you need to. And I'm going to switch over. Now read how further defined this is than that, and how it's been flushed out to where there's not going to be any type of misunderstandings or any ways that the perks are implemented. It defines exactly the amount of time for you to do everything. It's also another perk that I don't know what it is. You take protection hits from people. Once you take, I think it's like 4 protection hits, you get basically an endurance status effect from 1 hit. Yeah, Medal of Man. After triggering your 3rd protection hit, it's 3. Any damage that puts you into the dying state from the injured state is blocked. When you are healed, your aura will be revealed to the killer whenever you are farther than 16 meters away. I wanted to show this particular perk too, because it's another prevents you from going down. It's a little bit different because it's from the injured state. So, I mean, you have to stay injured, and it's just, well, you don't have to stay injured, but you know what I'm saying. It has to go from a healthy state to an injured state to a dying state. You can just straight up clonk them and put them down. But it does give you the endurance status effect. Now, the caveat for having something that you have to have 3 protection hits to activate is that when you are healed again, your aura will be revealed to the killer whenever you are 16 meters away. This is the caveat. You have that extra hit, but if you heal back to healthy, the killer will see your aura. You also can become the killer's obsession 100%, but that's kind of meh. That's a lot of action triggers for an extra hit. Guaranteed extra hit. Whereas this is just defined as if you take hit that would make you die or would make you put into the dying state, you're giving the broken status effect for 2 minutes, which is actually insane. I would rather just run Metal and Man and take those protection hits, because you can get protection hits from anything basically. Anything that causes damage and another survivor is nearby, you can get protection hits. So that's traps, that's zombies, anything like that. As long as a survivor is nearby, it's a protection hit. If a survivor's running after, or killer's running after another survivor, and you step in for a second and take that hit, it counts. It's very easy to charge. Granted, you're probably only going to get one charge unless you're specifically going for it in one game, but still, it's an extra hit. And you have to go out of your way to do quite a bit to get the metal, or you have to go completely down to get the soul guard charge. Whereas this protects you from any attack that can instantly down you being in a healthy state. So ultimate survival doesn't work every time. It only activates when an attack that can instantly down you when you're in a healthy state. And the caveat of not being put into the dying state, just a deep wound state, which needs to be defined how long you have to actually recover from that. You are broken for the next 2 minutes. And you have a 5% penalty and everything else, plus the other status effects that are with you. Now, what's generally going to happen in this situation? The killer's going to walk up to you, they're going to bop you, you're going to get that endurance effect, and then they're going to follow you and they're going to bop you again. And it's not even going to matter. And unfortunately, it is what it is. Or, if the killer knows you're using specifically ultimate survival, they might just bop you and just leave you alone. Because they now have 2 minutes to go ahead and do everything else. You are as crippled as can be. You can't heal. Anytime you do anything, you're looking at a 5% penalty. So, I mean, like, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this perk. And then you're stuck with status effects until you are healed or hooked. So if the killer does try to instantly down you, which would be... Right, it's got to be from a healthy state. So it's got to be like a stalker killer. It's got to be a Ghostface, Michael Myers, or Oni. Does anybody else have a one hit down? I guess you could use Haunted Grounds. Technically, it's basically anything that can apply the exposed status effect onto you. It protects against. That's great and all, but why would I use that over something else that can do the same thing, but I'm not going to be completely crippled and broken and everything else? I think, like I said, I think you went so far negative with that extra hit that it's just like, man. That's wild. That's wild to me. Deep wound state, so you have a timer and you have to heal yourself before the timer goes up. While you're in chase, you're broken, so even if you get out of chase, you're still going to leave blood and everything else, an increased amount of blood for the next 2 minutes, which is going to make the killer find you. Plus, you're mangled and you're oblivious, so you won't know the tear radius and all of that. So, that's just, it's too much. It's got such a small activation rate that it's bad. Like, at the end of the game, it is the ultimate end game perk to an extent. If he's running NOAD and you're running towards the exit door for dear life, at full health, by the way, at full health, and you're about ready to make it there, and he bonks you on the head, you'll be able to escape with that. That's where its use comes in. Or if you're right before a pallet, or somebody triggers haunted grounds or something, or you're healthy and the killer has an exposed effect on you, and you just need to run out the clock. Well, an exposed effect that affects the entire lobby, and you need to run out the clock. That's where that perk comes in. And if it's not you looping the killer to try to extend that timer till it runs out, or an end game thing where you're trying to escape, the perk really has no value. And that's where I'm kind of having that eh type of thing. It's like eh. But like I said, every killer and survivor needs to have a meh type of perk. I would say technically that one with nature would end up being the meh type of perk, but it can have its uses and be spectacular if used correctly. But I mean, it's like it reveals killer locations for 5 seconds with a 3-minute cooldown. I can just grab a map, or not a map, a key, and put the whatchamacallit attachment on it that shows the killer's aura when they're within X amount of meters. And just click that every once in a while to make sure everything's good. And not even worry about that. I mean, the green key's gotta be used for something, right? Why not let yourself show you where the killer or other survivors are, or the obsession is? Why not use them for that? You know? When an item basically can outdo and even go better because you have 2 different slots you can use on that item. Plus, if you use built to last or something like that, you can further extend it. It's like when items can outdo your perk, it's kind of like a meh. Then you have ultimate survival that's very niche and probably won't be used that often. Then momentary relief is gonna have to be nerfed. It's too good. It's way too good. But, like people say, the ideas are great. The ideas that are going through your brain are actually great. I like that you put yourself out there and introduce these perks, because this will give you positive feedback and more ideas. It'll give other people that are aspiring creators and things like that their own ideas. And then everybody feeds off each other or builds off each other. And we can get, better, higher quality killers with, better perks and things. And when I review, I'm not just sitting there saying, man, this is just, this perk and this perk combined. Like, come on, man, give me something better. Then instead, they'll have more to pull from. So the ideas are definitely great. And I thank you for bringing them to the community. Don't get me wrong, I like this concept and all of that. Regardless of what I say in my videos, I like the concepts that I'm going over. If I don't like the concepts I'm going over, or if they're just too memeish or something like that, I'll just stop doing what I'm doing. Like the Boldy at the end of last night's stream, I was gonna go over it, and then it just got to the point where I was like, nah, bro, I'm good. And I just turned it off. I'm like, no. So the fact that I'm spending all of this time, an hour and 45 minutes, holy. Hello, people. I didn't even think to check, but nice. I actually like your idea, removing the oblivious thing. But yeah. Oh, I get it. You're the creator. Gotcha. 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 It all makes sense now. But yeah, you have a lot of support and things like that. Um, yeah. Killer being bullied by the perk, things like that definitely can happen. Oh, this is actually funny that on September 22nd, this person says he has an idea if the generator is completed. They have the ability to push the killer, stunning him. When clairvoyance is broken and you see the videos of people getting moved by clairvoyance's activation, this guy's either from the future or is just the funniest comment that I've ever seen. Yeah, his name is Victor. Thank you. The short twin's name is Victor. Oh my. Well, having all of this, maybe at one point in time, I might have to set up my second monitor. If it'll even set up running Windows 11. It ran Windows 10 well, but I've had a lot of issues with my system here recently. But no, I'd love to actually have chat up on a second monitor and actually be able to communicate with people. I didn't even know you were here. It's the first time I've checked chat in I think any of my streams. Um, well, since you're here, I I did a video on your perk idea, and I can't for the life of me think about what it was. It might have been the one. No, because the kicking the generator and all of that, I think I did today. I don't know. Tomorrow, one of your old perk ideas, that's the name of the thing, was perk ideas. I have a video on that coming out tomorrow. I think it's set tomorrow at noon or something, Eastern time. And I go over the one perk that you introduce and things like that. I also go over the it is muted. I also go over just like I go over a pretty long rant. I ain't gonna BS you. It's a pretty long rant about helpful feedback and things like that. So a lot of people don't give it nowadays when you come to these. Like deleted user, another one. I think these ideas are great. It's good encouragement, things like that, but you were looking for more in feedback. It's nice, you know, you're saying nice, positive things like that, but I wish people would go through and say what they think about something is great. Even if they say, you know, I think momentary relief is great or the speed boost is great, at least it's some sort of feedback as opposed to just saying, you the man, man, let's go, yeah, yeah. It's like, yeah, I appreciate it, but you're not helping me in the long run. So I kind of appreciate people actually commenting and actually giving constructive feedback. This, I mean, I appreciate him trying to push something through, but he should have started his own forum and thought about his idea a little bit more. I'm glad you're nice enough to take the time to actually say something back to him and give him that little push that he needs, but it still, all in all, is rude that he keeps pushing that agenda. Like, oh, well, here's just a perk that I'm going to throw out just randomly in somebody else's forum. It's like, come on, man. Make your own post. But I think that is the end of all of the Dead by Daylight things that I am going to do. I appreciate you stopping by. And, I don't know. I mean, might as well play a little bit of DBD, right? I guess I'll do like a ghost face run. I would do a survival run, but they end up being laggy. Well, I mean, I guess the killer runs end up being laggy too. But if I lag, it's only affecting me personally. Definitely worth to share ideas. Oh, you're welcome for the detailed explanation. And yeah, I really do try my best to look for the bigger picture and then try to balance it for every single equation. Now, the problem that comes from looking at a big picture is I tend to miss smaller things. But when other people provide good feedback, I can also read that feedback and then go and rebalance what I say off of what they say to make things, you know, super good and, you know, all together. Oh, trust me, you aren't the only one that forgets to mention things. There is one that I actually had to. I did a recording on their review, and I don't even remember what it is. And I spent an hour basically trying to understand what they're saying because they didn't put any type of details. And every time I would try to make it usable, they would say something else that was completely